There is a question that haunts every serious ice hockey fan who looks beyond the highlights and the hero stories. The United States of America, a country with 330 million people, a country with the most powerful professional hockey league on the planet, the NHL, a country that has produced some of the greatest individual hockey players in history, a country that came within touching distance of dominating the entire world of ice hockey, and yet, for most of the last century, at the tournament that matters most, the IIHF World Championship, the United States of America was essentially invisible. Between 1933 and 2025, a gap of 92 years, the USA did not win a single standalone World Championship title. 92 years. How does the most powerful hockey nation on earth, home to the NHL, home to generational talents, home to the most famous moment in hockey history, disappear from the winner's podium for nearly a century? This is that story. This is Beyond the E-Hockey, Chapter 1, The Early Promise. To understand how far the USA fell, you must first understand how bright the flame once burned. American ice hockey did not begin as a powerhouse. In the early years of international competition, Canada was the undisputed king. The Canadians won gold at the first 4 Olympic ice hockey tournaments between 1920 and 1932 without breaking a sweat. They were not just dominant, they were untouchable. But quietly, in the frozen rinks of New England and the upper Midwest, American hockey was building something. Something patient. Something hungry. In 1933, at the World Championships in Prague, a team called the Massachusetts Rangers, also known as the Boston Olympics, did something extraordinary. They defeated Canada, the most powerful hockey nation on earth. In a tense, grinding final that went to overtime, John Garrison scored the winning goal, and the United States of America claimed its first ever IIHF World Championship title. It was not a fluke. Throughout the 1930s and into the 1950s, American teams were consistent medal contenders. Silver medals in 1934, 1939 and 1950. Silver at the 1952 and 1956 Winter Olympics. The USA was not yet the best in the world, but it was always in the conversation, always dangerous, always competitive. And then came 1960 and everything changed. Chapter 2, The Forgotten Miracle. Most people who know anything about American hockey history know about the 1980 miracle on ice, the young college players, the unbeatable Soviet machine, Al Michaels and his immortal words, "Do you believe in miracles? Yes, but 20 years before that miracle, there was another one. One that history has almost entirely forgotten. Squaw Valley, California, 1960 Winter Olympics. The United States fielded a team of amateur and collegiate players, no professionals, no stars, no household names. Against them stood the most powerful hockey nations on earth, the Soviet Union, Canada, Czechoslovakia, Sweden. The Americans were not supposed to compete. They were not supposed to win. They were supposed to show up, play respectfully, and go home. Instead, they won every single game. They beat the Soviet Union. They beat Czechoslovakia. They went a perfect 7 wins from 7 games and stood on the top of the Olympic podium, gold medals around their necks, as the entire hockey world looked on in disbelief. It was called the Forgotten Miracle, because 20 years later, a more famous miracle would erase it from the public memory. But in 1960, the United States of America had just announced to the world that American hockey was a force to be reckoned with. 2 decades of promise, a world championship, an Olympic gold. The foundation was there, the trajectory was upward, the future looked extraordinary. And then, slowly, quietly, almost without anyone noticing, the USA began to disappear. Chapter 3, The Disappearance. The 1980 Miracle on Ice is the most famous moment in American hockey history, and it deserves every ounce of its legend. A group of college-age players, coached by the brilliant and demanding Herb Brooks, defeated a Soviet team that had been destroying opponents for decades. Then they beat Finland to claim the Olympic gold medal. It was not just a sports moment, it was a cultural moment, a national moment. But here is the uncomfortable truth that the 1980 mythology obscures. The Miracle on Ice was a moment of extraordinary exception, not a signal of sustained American dominance, because in the decades that followed, the pattern repeated itself with brutal consistency. flashes of brilliance at the Olympics, complete absence at the World Championships. The reason is buried deep inside the structure of American professional hockey. The NHL, the National Hockey League, runs its playoff schedule directly alongside the IIHF World Championship. Every spring, while the world's best players from Canada, Russia, Sweden, Finland and Czech Republic are representing their nations at the World Championships, American players are either competing in the NHL playoffs or resting and recovering from the season. The result is devastating. The United States consistently sent weaker second-tier squads to the World Championships, teams missing their biggest stars, their best players, their championship-level talent, while European nations sent full-strength rosters of players who genuinely prioritized international competition. America sent whoever was available. And the results reflected that choice. Semi-final exits, quarter-final losses, bronze medals, near misses, decade after decade of almost reaching the top but never quite getting there. Between 1960 and 2025, a span of 65 years, the USA did not win a single world championship at the standalone IIHF tournament, not once. The country with the most powerful professional league on earth, the country that produced Wayne Gretzky. Wait, he was Canadian. The country that produced Patrick Kane, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, players of the highest possible quality. And yet, no world championship gold for 65 years. Chapter 4. The real reason. The structural problem of NHL scheduling is real, but it does not tell the complete story, because underneath the scheduling conflict lies a deeper, more fundamental problem: the way American sports culture thinks about international competition. In Canada, representing the national hockey team is a matter of national pride that borders on sacred obligation. In Russia, the national hockey program was for decades a direct expression of state power and national identity. Chapter 5. The closing. There is something deeply fascinating about the story of American ice hockey because it is not a story of failure, it is a story of chosen limitations. The talent has always been there. The infrastructure has always been there. The NHL, the greatest hockey league ever assembled, has been there for over a century. And in recent years, signs of genuine change have emerged. In 2025, the United States finally broke the 92-year World Championship drought, defeating Switzerland in overtime to claim gold. 2026, Team USA captured Olympic gold for the first time since 1980. The sleeping giant appears to be waking, but for most of modern hockey history, the United States chose the Stanley Cup over the World Championship, chose domestic glory over international dominance, chose the NHL calendar over the international calendar. The USA almost dominated world hockey. They had every ingredient required. They simply chose not to. And that, perhaps more than any defeat, any upset, any collapse, is the most extraordinary hockey story never fully told. If this story changed the way you think about American hockey, if you never knew that the USA went 92 years without a world championship title while dominating the NHL, then this channel was built for you. Subscribe to Beyond the Hockey right now. Every single week we go deeper into the untold stories,